Good morning, friends. Kevin here from Watch This with Joe and Kevin. Um, Continuing on towards the end of season three of For All Mankind. Wow, what a conclusion to the last episode again. I would absolutely call it a bit of a cliffhanger. And where we're at with Danny, I made mention in the last episode that I really feel like Danny and Margot should be sharing a cell somewhere. Um, Probably a little bit more serious for Danny. Well, I mean, Margot's guilty of espionage for sure. But Danny, I would say, has gone on full homicide. I think if you were to look at it generously, like maybe negligent homicide, but I'm pretty sure at least one person is dead. We saw one astronaut or cosmonaut, and I couldn't tell who it was. It looked like a cosmonaut, based on the white astronaut gear, outfit, uniform, spacesuit. Marsuit. Looks like got very much buried by a rock slide that was completely Danny's fault. And I don't know, but it kind of looked like at the end there, only Ed and Danny were able to get inside, um, and shut the door to the habitat before everything kind of hit. So it's quite possible everybody else outside is dead. But then again, there may be a bit of a rescue effort afterwards, or other ways to survive, or maybe I saw that wrong, but it looked like only Ed and Danny got inside and got the door closed as the rock slide kind of started hitting the habitat. So I am assuming that Danny is very much a criminal, which I find really interesting conceptually, because it's going to happen, right, someday, as you know, more countries get into space, and as we venture farther into space and more private industry gets into space. It may be decades from now, it may be a century from now, but someday there's going to be somebody that commits a major crime in space. It's going to happen. Maybe not in my lifetime, but it's going to happen. And I'm really curious what you do, because Ed may not know or figure out that Danny is directly responsible for this. This may be a, my God, what happened? Why didn't we communicate well here? Um, but someday there will be a day where somebody commits a really serious crime in space. And if they're on a small astronaut crew where they have responsibilities, and you're in a really really limited habitat, what do you do with them? you know how do you confine someone to quarters forever until they get back to earth, or can get back to earth? What if they don't go along with that? There's a lot of questions that something like this brings up, because like I said, it's inevitable that someday it's going to happen. As more and more people venture farther and farther into space, it's kind of an inevitability. I'm really kind of fascinated about that. All right, we should go and jump into it here. I do want to thank all of the Patreon subscribers who are here with us, and I'd like to give a special thank you to Actuarial Lurker, Balash Fuldez, Chris, Derek Peterson, Jeff, Christy Goverston, NJ, Surya Gundavarapu, Torgir Lingstad, Weird Magic, and WerePanda47. Always gratefully here with us, guys. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to see a full-length reaction to this and everything else that we have watched or we're currently watching, please check out the link in the description below to our Patreon page on every show, including For All Mankind. We are at least 4 episodes out on Patreon, and we're on YouTube. So if you watch the YouTube edits and would like to keep going, you can do it there, which on this show would take you into season 4 at this point. You will have to sync and watch along on your own source material. You're only going to see and hear me for copyright purposes. Yeah, but right where it happened.
It's a landslide. The pattern is very clear in seismograph. Not at all like quake.
I think it's really cool they can tell the difference. It looked like an earthquake to me.
Heliospace, Happy Valley. Heliospace, Happy Valley.
Meantime, you two suit up. Prep both rovers. Load them up with all the emergency gear they can carry.
Danielle proving to be the absolute queen of this. I'm willing to wager that there is no guilt at all, or recognition of guilt from Danny, who has completely lost it. Maybe he will. Okay, so somebody that got buried outside is still alive. This is good. I don't want to see like punctured suits and dead bodies. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for the narrative that the one guy who knew that exactly what Danny did wouldn't survive this to be able to tell everybody what Danny did. So Danny's going to be able to play it innocent here, which kind of is gross, but we still have several episodes left in the season, at least 3. We'll see. God. I'm curious how Pam feels about her don't ask, don't tell policy.
I just made it easier for you to go after the thing you really wanted. I used to think a lot about what our life would be.
She certainly wouldn't be president.
I gave you up. Because I thought maybe one day you could make a real difference.
What was there different? I could have sworn that there was a female astronaut out whose ship was punctured. This is good, because at least some of them are alive.
Could we be the only survivors?
No word from Ed or Danny Stevens?
Not yet.
Well, we know they made it back to the habitat.
We need to reach out to NASA. They're mounting the rescue efforts, and we need to get everybody that we can working on this.
She's right.
I'm gonna stay behind, reach out to the families of those that are unaccounted for.
Henry Zinman can make those calls.
Not calls.
Boy, taking Danny was a colossal mistake by Ed. I mean, really. Here we are, finally. I'm almost surprised Danny's helping him.
What the hell happened?
Landslide from the ridge. Buried us. And who knows how far down we are.
Jesus.
Oh no, that would suck.
Emergency beacons broadcasting.
Okay.
This is where my claustrophobia would destroy me. Buried alive.
Lead them to us.
All we have is the atmosphere in this compartment.
So they're really
And
running
the
out of
oxygen in
time.
our suits.
I don't think they're going to suffocate. I think they're going to be found, but it's not going to be easy.
Danielle Poole's team should reach your HAB 2 in about 1 hour. Our first task is to find the missing people.
Commander Baldwin and Stevens were on HAB 1. They could still be alive and trapped inside.
Okay, where was it? Start digging.
Told you to get off those pills. You're starting to go through withdrawal.
Spare me the Sunday sermon.
This is nice, at least.
Have one's there. You think you can go back out? Lead the search for Ed and Danny?
Do they have equipment for a big excavation job like this? I mean, they probably do. They were drilling holes. Yeah.
Karen! Oh my god! Can't believe you came.
You want to tell us what's really going on?
Well, there was a landslide.
So you came all the way out here to repeat some bullcrap you're spouting on television.
Oh my god.
I grew up with this idea that he might die someday. Thought that he may be lying in a dirt hole somewhere that we may never even find his body.
It sucks. I wonder if Ed and Danny are going to have the conversation they need to have about what caused the landslide, though. Sounds like a beacon.
Digging down 20 meters with hand tools. It'll take more time than Baldwin and Stevens have left.
Do the Russians ever say anything about Margot?
Just that she's a ball buster.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that she now knows. Or strongly suspects.
Rockford? Your dad worked for Kirkland?
Building components for the Saturn V. Till Apollo 23.
Yeah, that was where the defective part was made. Yeah. That little moment really made Marco's career.
Well, after the explosion, they replaced the whole Saturn V team.
We have to get a phone call?
Thank you. You're welcome.
Sorry, just the shot. The phone is in the foreground.
For everything.
Okay, so
May I?
the phone in the foreground was important.
They haven't made any contact with Ed or Danny yet, but they've locked onto the emergency beacon.
I went to see Pam.
Could you take a risk like that? What if someone leaks it? If the press finds out?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of hypocrisy there. Her Dev, can you help out, please? He's a smart guy.
HAB 1 also sits above a lava tube. We enter the lava tube where it's closest to the surface. Enough of the material above will flow down from the HAB.
I never would have thought of this.
Pretty soon we're gonna have to put our suits back on.
So I could live a few more hours and die a horrible death? Shane told me all about your bike riding lessons.
Oh my god.
Told me he was terrified of you.
I hate Danny a lot.
Gordon.
Any error in placement will destroy the hub.
Yeah, and us with it.
I hope the conspiracy goons don't show up while he's going through this. Is she going to talk some sense into him? Because somebody needs to.
I know about you and Danny.
I don't know how much she needs to share here. As much as I don't like what happened with Danny, it's not really his business.
I wanted to do something that was wrong.
I like this explanation. I'm glad this scene's here.
I hate it with every fiber in my being.
I really do feel bad for Jimmy. He's gone through it. No one seemed to care as much as they do about Danny. But it made him so easy prey for those conspiracy nuts. Yeah, he hasn't been doing well since the accident. Does he have like a concussion or internal injuries?
I suspect subdural hematoma. And we'll have to drill a hole in his skull to release the pressure.
Oh, his brain's bleeding. Is there a more stressful show on television? This is how I felt when we were watching Ozark for a while.
Okay, explosive charges are set into the roof of the lava tube.
Ready to make a run for it?
I'm not as young as you.
If he had never met me, Karen would have driven him to that basketball game.
You can't do that to yourself, though.
He would have gone to Annapolis and he'd be here today instead of me.
Don't make me feel bad for Danny right now. Now.
Like my mom and dad left me and Jimmy. Yeah, there's something else I need to tell you.
What's the time?
Something.
Okay, thank God.
Thank God.
Oh, good.
No, of course, I'll tell her. Thank you.
What about the two very serious medical patients? Are they okay? I've always been a really big fan of Ed and Danielle, but now I'm deferring everything to Danielle. He's the most put-together smart person in the entire astronaut corps. Oh.
Yeah. Alexa Palatov didn't make it.
Hey, Danny, all of this is your fault. There are 3 dead people.
Рано или поздно она узнает, что препод.
Oh, no.
Прежде всего, я должен поговорить с Москвой.
Well, that's actually a big deal. Okay. It was emotionally jarring. I have empathy for Danny that I absolutely didn't think I would ever have. I still think he belongs in prison. I mean, you know, I couldn't live up to expectations. Isn't really an excuse for everything that he's done. Obviously, there are 3 people dead because of his terrible, terrible choices, and there's got to be some accountability for that. There has to be. It's okay to have to face consequences, yet still grow as a person. It happens to people all the time. Danny can and should be one of those people. Having a pregnant, I mean, I don't know how much longer their mission is supposed to or going to be, but having an astronaut who is not only pregnant, but it's very possible that she would have to give birth before ever getting back to Earth, which kind of seems like a really tough proposition for about a million reasons. Safety for her and for the baby, and everything else that could potentially go wrong as a result of it. I don't even know how you how you tackle this. This is going to be a tough conversation moving forward, I assume. I honestly don't think that the Soviet commander, who I absolutely do not like, I don't think he's necessarily wrong in saying we need to tell NASA and Moscow both about this, because there needs to be a real clear set of what can be done before even talking to Kelly about it. Because you need to be, I mean, that is a conversation I would not want to be a part of. Having to tell Kelly it's quite possible that this is something that has to be medically dealt with, whether you like it or not, for your own safety and everybody else's safety. God, I hate that. This season of the show has just been like very uncomfortable and disquieting. Just across the board, there's been some really, really tough things that have happened on this show this season. God, I thought season 2 was stressful with the lead up to the shootout on the moon and the consequences of that. This is easily as brutal, if not more so. You know, there are characters that I've liked on the show that I'm saying I really hope they get caught and incarcerated for a long time. And even after that, this thing with Kelly becomes really, really dicey. And can anybody get off the moon now? Or I keep saying the moon, it's Mars. Can anybody get off of Mars now? We already knew NASA's ship was damaged and they were going to have to leave with Helios, but now Helios lost their lander as well. I don't know if they have another one. I'm sure they're obviously going to figure something out. That this season doesn't end with everybody just dying on Mars. But I don't know. I feel like that's got to be a pretty big conversation and a big part of what happens moving forward. Just getting everybody back up to Phoenix and back to Earth has to be a really big conversation. Actually, you know what? If Kelly can get onto Phoenix, which remember is just a giant hotel with simulated gravity, you have a doctor, maybe they can just have a baby in space. I don't know. Obviously getting way ahead of myself. But then that's the fun of watching the show. We have a couple episodes left, and what are they going to do to deal with all of these mounting problems? This episode was obviously just about rescuing the people that you could rescue, which was 3 of the 6 people that were involved in the landslide were rescued. And now what do you do as far as, hey, how do we, are we still going to look for water before we come back? Do they need the water to make fuel? And is the water all evaporated off because of the cave in? Is there another source of water? Or is there a way just to get off anyway? With a couple episodes left, I feel like getting off of Mars and getting back to Earth becomes the priority for everyone that's remaining. And by the way, I expected people to die because it's, for all mankind going into the Mars missions, but holy man, this has been absolutely brutal. So I guess I'll just have to see moving forward. Thanks for being here with me, guys. I'll talk to you later.